This is Reimagining Our Region, your go-to podcast for regional insights and trends. Each episode brings together expert discussions on the challenges and the opportunities shaping the Middle East, from economic shifts to emerging technologies. I am Amal Laghlid, partner at PwC Middle East.
And I'm Patricia Keating, Senior Manager at PwC Middle East. We'll explore how businesses in the Middle East are adapting to remain competitive, focusing on business model reinvention, sustainable growth, and the transformation needed to thrive in an evolving landscape. Welcome to today's episode, where we are exploring the evolving business landscape in the Middle East, one defined by resilience, optimism, and reinvention. Despite global uncertainty, a remarkable 90% of GCC CEOs are confident in revenue growth in the next 12 months. This far surpasses the global sentiment. At the same time, we cannot stand still. Reinvention is essential. More than half of Middle East CEOs believe that their companies will not be economically viable in the next decade unless they evolve. Achieving business sustainability through strategic investments in climate solutions and Gen AI. Building resilience in new business models also means navigating risks. Whether that's the geopolitical conflicts or inflation, businesses must strike that balance between seizing opportunities and mitigating threats. Today, we have a very special guest to discuss what's next for Middle East businesses. Stephen Anderson, PwC Middle East Executive Board Member and the Strategy, Growth and Markets Leader. Welcome, Stephen. I'm so excited to talk to you about the findings of the CEO survey.
Delighted to be here, Trish.
Thank you. Now, a credible statistic, 90% of GCC CEOs believe that they're going to grow revenue in the next 12 months. What does that actually mean for the region?
So yeah, you're right. It's almost a record in terms of the responses we had, and we had an incredible number of responses in the region, almost 300 CEOs. So it really was the voice of the region and the voice of CEOs. Within that context, the confidence, what's driving the confidence? I think there's probably three big things that are driving that confidence. I think firstly, obviously the economy is doing well.
Yes.
So GDP is going to be growing next year. I think particularly in the non-oil sector. So we're looking at, 5, 6, 7% growth across the GCC. And as you look out here in Dubai, or I was in Riyadh this week, I was in Doha this week, you can see there's lots of activity happening. And I think the confidence is there. I mean, particularly in Riyadh. So it was 90%, as you said, for GCC. It was 98%
wow.
For Saudi-based CEOs. So super confident there. So they're seeing that in terms of GDP. I think the second thing is the transformation agenda continues. And if anything, it's escalating and accelerating. Mm-hmm. And I always say that the region's trying to digitize, decarbonize, privatize, localize, modernize.
Yes.
And I think the CEOs are can see that. That's cascading down into their economies and driving that level of confidence.
Yeah, it's that momentum really, isn't it? That they need to continue to transform. And I think they're also learning, right? Yeah. They're learning from the globe, and they're bringing those things here to the region. And let's talk about that a little bit. So over half of CEOs believe that reinvention is on the cards for them. Yep. Their existing business models aren't going to sustain them in the future. Why is it this moment that reinvention has become so critical?
So at one level, it feels great to be a CEO because you've got all this growth ahead of you and you're feeling confident. Mm-hmm. But also you can see this tidal wave of mega trends and big changes coming towards you. And that wave isn't something that's going to happen in 5, 6, 7 or 8 years. It's happening now.
Yeah.
So the big three things that CEOs said, and a remarkable stat that 6 out of 10 CEOs said that my business will not be viable in 10 years' time. Globally, it was 4 out of 10. So it feels like our CEOs are more attuned to what's coming at them. And when we asked them what's driving that, they had three things. Interestingly, firstly, they said regulation, actually. I think the regulations that are coming in different industries are driving change, consumer demands, etc. Secondly, was Gen AI.
Yes.
Obviously, the impacts of Gen AI, what's that's going to mean in terms of my customers, the efficiency I drive, new competition. And thirdly, it was climate.
Yeah.
So climate, both in terms of products again. So what's the demands of my customers? But secondly, what's it going to mean in terms of my own compliance, cost, investments, all of those areas?
I think it's those things are all interrelated, right? Yep. And I think consumers are becoming much more sophisticated. Correct. And we're much more aware. We're all feeling the impact of climate. These challenges link nicely into resilience.
Yep.
These are things that the companies must become resilient to, but they're not the only challenges and threats that they have to their business.
Correct.
What are the other concerns that there are forefront to the CEO's mind?
So this was interesting for me because I thought CEOs, and they all mentioned geopolitics and what's happening in the region. Clearly, there's quite a lot going on. So obviously they reflected on that. But actually, when you ask them, what are the things that are really keeping you awake at night in terms of your businesses, particularly in the GCC, actually top of that list was cyber. They were super concerned about cyber threats. They're seeing them on a regular basis. They're seeing ransomware. They're feeling vulnerable as they digitize. A lot of things are there open to attack. And there's clearly, and you probably see it yourself, I feel threatened by text messages and whatever comes to a daily basis. Exactly. So imagine that on an enterprise space. So literally concern around that. And I think with AI coming in as well, threats are becoming more sophisticated. It's harder to put up the walls. How do you use AI to prevent the threats? So that was the sort of big risk. Geopolitics obviously plays out. And then some concerned around, given all this growth, are we going to see a return of inflation and everything that's happening around the world? We won't get into broader geopolitics, which might drive prices up, but that also featured.
Yeah, I think that inflation challenge that they had has waned a little bit, but definitely it
could return.
Absolutely. So then, you and I are both into innovation and startups, and we love that space, and we understand deeply the importance of cross collaboration, partnerships, strategic partnerships, in the big enterprises. How is that playing out? Where is the cross industry convergence happening there? It must be a play.
Yeah. So great question, Trish. And I think within that, this was a sort of surprise, not maybe a surprise, but something that was new in this year's survey in terms of what the CEOs were saying, particularly around activity beyond their sectors. So something like 45% of CEOs, 45% of CEOs said, actually, I'm now active in sectors outside of my normal domain. So I'm getting into other sectors. Many said they were going to do deals to get into those other sectors. And obviously, as you move into broader sectors, you start to think of what's the ecosystem I need to connect with. And that might be startups, it might be alliance partners, etc. And this is really going after new domains of growth. Where are the new areas of growth? And where do I differentiate? So if you're a bank, for example, we were with a couple of the CEOs the other day, and they said, actually, we're seeing as more and more as a tech player, I have a platform. Where else can I take that platform? And actually, could I make my platform available to other banks? So there's collaboration, there's competition, there's alliances. So really a big theme that will come out as people look for that domains of growth. And I guess what really comes out there as well is this new competition. So I'm a bank, I'm now competing with telcos. I'm a retailer, I'm now competing with Apple or other tech players. So actually in those new domains of growth, competition will be much more intense and come from places that you may not expect.
Yeah, certainly not your traditional players in each of these markets. And I suppose we can bring some of our learnings to that, right? As an organisation, we have forged some incredible new alliances. Right. And I just wonder sort of what was our own, as a business, our own thought process in some of those big strategic partnerships with the likes of OpenAI, as our AI leader. Tell us a little bit about that to close us out today.
Yeah, sure. So, and Gen AI came through very strongly in the CEO survey. So like 82% of our CEOs said we're already using Gen AI. So we're seeing that roll out. Obviously, we've just launched our relationship with OpenAI, which is super exciting. I mean, I think from our perspective, we're sort of customer zero. We're the largest user of OpenAI ChatGPT Enterprise in the world. We have hundreds of thousands of people using it. And seeing huge advantages. We're driving 20-30% increases in efficiencies. And that learning we can take to our clients to say, actually, and it's not just about putting the technology in hand. How do you do the upskilling? How do you drive the innovation? How do you get the transformation days together and package that all together? And so this will be a year where we'll see, I think it will be a year of AI. In a big way across the region. And it will be less around the PowerPoint and talking about it. It will be how do I activate and get things moving? And you can see that with the CEOs. They said we're activating. I think 70% said we expect profitability to improve this year due to AI. So both in terms of the revenue side of things, but also taking out costs and efficiencies. So exciting year ahead.
Top line and bottom line, all going to be transformed. Looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. Yep. Thank you so much for taking some time out to talk to us and share your insights on today's episode. Resilience remains strong. GCC CEOs are confident in the revenue growth, proving the region's ability to thrive despite the global uncertainty. It's being re-enabled by reinvention, that's fully now on the table, to ensure our businesses survive the next decade with transformation in AI, sustainability and regulation. Industry convergence is unlocking these new opportunities with cross-sector collaborations to drive that growth and innovation. So let's keep the conversation going. Subscribe and share your comments with us on how resilience and reinvention is shaping your industry. Stay tuned for more insights.